Alright, SlimmBob here. Time for another review. I thought I'd wear an hat for a change. No, this isn't a special occasion. It was here on my shelf and I thought, I was looking at it and I want the hat, so yeah, I just put it with it. But yeah, this is SlimmBob. Time for another review. And this time a film review. And if you remember, Paranormal Activity, the film that came out last year, the horror film, is one of my favourite horror films. I think it took a huge step into bringing back suspense, real suspense in horror, where it brought back old styles, where your fear was of the unknown, where it didn't concentrate on gore, it concentrated on that unknown entity, where questions were running through your head thinking, what is that? And that's what it did. It gave me the same feeling I get when I watch old horror films, but in a modern style. So that's why it's good. And Paranormal Activity 2 has just come out. And first I thought, how can they make a sequel? And then I thought, of course they're making a sequel. The first one was a success. This is Hollywood, of course they're making a sequel. Yeah, so they made a sequel to Paranormal Activity, which wasn't needed at all. But I saw it other week. I went to see it. And I must say, it looked great. The trailers and everything made it look great. So what's it like? Now you thought I was going to say it was shit, didn't you? Be honest. Well, yeah, we're building it up, but no, I'm going to be honest, it's a good film. Rest assured, Paranormal Activity 2 is a good film. It basically does what the first one did, again. And the story of Paranormal Activity 2, basically, I'm not trying to give spoilers away from the first one. I'm not going to, basically what it is, the woman in the first one, it follows her sister's family, who are getting haunted by whatever entity it is. I'm not going to say any more because there are links to the first one and the events that happen in the first one, and it'll spoil it if you haven't seen it. So yeah, I don't want to spoil it, seriously. But yeah, it does a good job. Paranormal Activity 2 is very similar to the first one, where a lot of people go in and think not much happens in it, but it's so subtle. It does the same. A lot of franchises, they'd go into a trap where they'd reveal the monster at some point, but in Paranormal Activity 2 it remains loyal to the first one. It never reveals the monster, which is great. The thing is, it isn't exactly the same though. They have made changes. You can tell it was a bigger budget as well. I mean, I think the original, it was like less than $20,000. Like, I think $16,000 they said. And this one, it's $3 million budget. So, you know, they paid for some more actors, and I don't know. The great thing, it doesn't really show. You can't really tell that that we're had a bigger budget. It looks so similar, you know, the execution and everything, it's so similar, it's great, I think it's great. The one thing they did change, which I thought was fantastic, is they implemented multiple cameras around the house. And they explained it all as well, because it's not really a spoiler. At the beginning, obviously, they're getting terrorised by this creature, this family. So they're going to lob stuff from our house, aren't they? So naturally, at that point, they don't believe that it's paranormal. So the family, they think they've been burgled. So what happens, the dad, right, he decides to have cameras installed all over the house, in all different rooms. So that, you know what I mean, it's all explained. The Paranormal Entity didn't explain it. Why am I comparing it to that? Do you know, when I reviewed that, I didn't even know who Asylum were. I wish I'd have known before I bought that film. I wish I'd have... But yeah. Anyway, I'm not talking about that. That was shit. Watch me review of that if you want to... If you really want to know about it. It's shit. But yeah. Paranormal Activity 2, it does explain it. And I think that's great. And it's not just... It kind of rehashes the plot from the first one. But it makes it interesting. Like, characters are different. Plus it brings back the original characters from Paranormal Activity 1. So, all the way, there's tension all the way through. I hadn't known an horror film build up tension as well, seriously. I don't understand how people can go and see these films and just laugh at them. Seriously, they're scary films. They're actually one of the few scary films. It's what you don't see. If you can engulf yourself in that world, it really is some of the best horror you'll ever see. It really is. Yeah. There's another thing that this one does that Paranormal Activity 1 didn't do. A lot more stuff happens in the day, which didn't happen in the first one. It was all like, they were like a cycle, where at night stuff would happen, and in the day they analyse it and try and build from it. And then it'd keep happening, and stuff would get worse and worse and worse. And every time it got to night, you felt the tension rise. But in this one, stuff starts happening in the day. You know, like with doors opening and closing. And just little things. And it makes it so you can't relax at all, because you have no idea when stuff's going to happen. And some of it's really creepy. No, I'm not going to spoil it. This is the problem with this film, because a lot of the scares, there aren't many scares, that's what's so good about it, is they actually develop characters, which other horror films don't do, but it's like the first one where there isn't much horror, but when it happens, it will fucking make an impact. So that's why I'm not going to spoil any of it. I can't. That's the problem with these films. Seriously, they're just really well done. It looks real and all. That's what I love about it. You know, because they're so minimal. You can't fuck up. There's no over the top CGI. It's just simple. And old horror films was simple. A lot of stuff had happened off screen. This is the same. Not much happens, and it's your imagination that's the key. Like in the first one, you know, when you see the footprints walking on the carpet, you're seeing the shape of the footprints, and in your mind you're imagining what that creature looks like. The strength of those footprints. You know, when it boom, 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 and it stops. It's just so good. It really is. I love it so much. But yeah, Paranormal Activity 2, it does do what the first one did, but for one, the ending doesn't have as much impact. I have to say, the ending were a bit anticlimactic. It was just like leading on to a sequel, which the first one didn't feel like that. It felt like it wrapped up the story, where it was just documenting an incident and that were it. Whereas this one, it feels as though it's leading on to another film, and that kind of winds me up. I know they're obviously going to make it into a franchise because it's very successful, but I'd like to see if it were more conclusive. They need to just finish this story and end it, and then it'll go down as one of the best horror trilogies ever. That's what they need to do. They don't need to milk it to shit. Like fucking Nightmare on Elm Street, and fucking Friday the 13th, and stuff like that. And Halloween, Jesus, they fucking fucked up Halloween, didn't they? Then they try rebooting it, and then they try rebooting that. Oh, they just don't. Don't get me started on horror reboots. They just wind me up. Except Dawn of the Dead, that were good. Dawn of the Dead were good, but that's because I'm not talking about that. You stop doing this to me. I need to talk about Paranormal Activity 2. The point is, you get the idea, okay? It's the same as the first one, but taken up a notch with a slightly anticlimactic ending. The thing with cameras, different cameras, works really well. There's a lot of creepy moments, bits that surprise you. I thought they'd have reused a lot of old jumps from Paranormal Activity, but they didn't. They were creative, and that's what's good. It's creative. These two films are very creative, and they just know what they're doing. They know their audience. They know what they're doing. They're great. I think they're fantastic. But this, I must say, but no, it doesn't have that quality, and because of that, I'm kind of stuck. What shall I get? You might think this harsh, but I'm going to give it 3 fingers, 3 stars. Because, I don't know, to be honest, I didn't enjoy it as much as Paranormal Activity. I don't think they can sustain that kind of impact over 2 films. It should have been a standalone film. I've got to be honest, Paranormal Activity should have been standalone. But they decided to make a sequel, and it's a fun ride. And if you're a fan at first one, you'll love it. After watching Paranormal Entity, I didn't think there were any room for more films like this, but it shows you these filmmakers have talent. They really do. I know I said that in my Paranormal Activity review, but it could have been possible that it were a fluke, that film. Now, based on this film, Paranormal Activity 2, I don't think it were. I think they're just talented filmmakers, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I could keep watching them, and if they just kept changing the scares and just upping it up, like doing it up, I think they can do it. I think they're great. But yeah, I know it seems harsh, 3, but the ending was a big thing for me. I didn't like the way it didn't wrap up, and plus the fact that it's very similar to the first one. I don't know. There's only so many of these you can make. It is gimmicky. So, yeah, they're gonna have to be. I'll go and watch 3rd one when that comes out, but I'm not expecting a masterpiece. I've got to be honest. But yeah, 3 stars. Definitely check it out. If you're a fan at first one, definitely get it when it comes out. And even if you're not watched the first one, watch the first one first, and you'll understand it. Even though there's not much story, you can kind of get it, but it won't make as much of an impact if you want to see the first one. So, yeah, check it out, definitely. It's a good film, so yeah. Anyway, this is SlimmBob. Thanks for watching. No, do that again. There we go. Goodbye.